1,000 bouncing souls packed into the moment. The heavy sky splits open. Time floats frozen. Tonight, the stars ignite like fireflies. Tonight is beaming straight across the universe. What's up? My name is David Levine, Brooklyn poet from New York City. I've been writing pretty much my whole life. I was contacted by Willem Headhunters that back in 2009 a sample of my vocal was used in one of his songs, and it became a pretty large anthem for the hardstyle scene, which was a surprise to me, but I was really excited that people heard the words. So when he decided to do his comeback album, he invited me to come be a part of it.
It's a long story, and I think it's an interesting story. Back in 2009, when I made Tonight with Wild Styles and Noise Controllers, it's probably a track that everyone knows in the hardstyle scene, but David had never heard of hardstyle, and I had never heard of David. I just came across his vocal when I was looking online, because, you know, in the hardstyle community, there's a lot of sampling going on. So I just found that a cappella. I used it and, you know, never knew whose it was or whatever. But then years and years later, that vocal had become so iconic within our scene. Everyone knew his voice, you know? But it was kind of a mystery whose it was. Nobody knew. And then when I came back to hardstyle, started working on new music, I was like, how amazing would it be to, you know, have him do new vocals. And then I began my search to actually find out who is this guy. That was kind of a really difficult search because you were nowhere to be found online. I wasn't able to find you anywhere until I got in contact with the guy who actually recorded Tonight with you in the first place. He gave me his contact details and
for me, like back in the day, I mean, I was just struggling. I was living in New York. I was waiting tables at the time. I was writing a lot, and I found Peter Monk, that's my friend that recorded me, and he thought it would be really cool to have some poetry. So I went to his studio, we recorded some stuff, and he put it online, but then we kind of both forgot about it. Tonight vocal was just out there, and I had no idea that Willem had found it and used it for this Tonight track. I had no idea that even 10 people had heard my voice, let alone like 10,000. It was really crazy. And when he contacted me on Facebook first, I just kept ignoring it, because I just figured he was some annoying person who wants me to like his page, like my page. And then my friend Peter was like, no, you gotta talk to this guy. He's real serious. And we connected. And it turns out that we have a lot in common. We think the same way. We like the same things. And it really worked out.
For me, it's still like really weird that like millions of views on that track, you know, on YouTube, and you never knew. Like there was no one in the whole world that heard Tonight that knew you or that contacted you. It was a complete surprise to you.
I never heard of hardstyle before. And I really like electronic music. You know, I grew up in Montreal and New York, like dancing in clubs to, you know, different types of house and techno. But hardstyle was never heard of it. And then once I learned about it, I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is like a worldwide phenomenon. Just a huge movement. So it was news to me. Yeah, I mean, I think hardstyle is really interesting because it mixes a lot of times it's mixing two things that are like total opposites. You know, it has a very like hard pumping beat, and then the beat drops out, and it can be very ethereal. But what it allows for is that very poetic vocal to come in at that point. And I think that's really cool because there's not a lot of places where you can hear, you know, some deeper lyrics.
That's the thing, like he says, I cannot think of any electronic genres that allow for, you know, this kind of vocals to fit in. You know, you hear mostly like singing vocals or rap, but like poetry and music come together in hardstyle, you know, and that's a magical combination. And with you, like you said, there's like poetry is a small community in the world, you know, and so it's really cool that we found each other, that you have a way to express your lyrics in music and have something that fits so well, you know, with your style, because your vocals and the way you write, I mean, that's just I don't know, for some reason it just connects with me as a person, but also with the kind of music that I make.
It's interesting for me because when I got into writing poetry seriously, everybody was writing about, the sunset or love or, politics and these things. But for me, at the same time, I was going out, clubbing and raving and listening to all sorts of electronic music. I had lots of DJs who were friends who were DJs. So I wanted to write about that experience. So a lot of what I wrote about at the time of Tonight was just that feeling of being out, being surrounded by this whole different world. I remember thinking people are asleep, everybody's sleeping right now, and in this building, this crazy thing is happening, and this just wonderful moment. And that's kind of what Tonight was about, just like the world is sleeping and we're out celebrating life. And it was, it's something that was very personal to me at the time.
Already for me, but it must be so cool for people out there that have been playing that song for years to hear a little bit of the story behind it.
I thought it was you.
Yeah. It was huge. In the spectrum of the hardstyle community, it was huge. It's I think it might be in the top 10 of almost every hardstyle listener of the best hardstyle tracks ever. And I don't know, it's just pure nostalgia for a lot of people.
Yeah, I went online to check it out, and I saw Billboard.com. It was the #1 hardstyle song of all time, on this list, and I was like, damn, that's crazy.
And that is the beginning of a lot of new collaborations to come, right?
Yeah, and so what started as one little sample, now I think on this next album is going to be a real cool thread throughout that, I think is going to really elevate.
Headhunters.